Welcome into this discussion today. As I mentioned yesterday, although we never go back to the past, but if you want to go back and review part 1 of the topic, subconsciousness, this is part 2, subconsciousness. So picking up where I left you in the previous episode, I mentioned towards the end of that discussion that consider this subconsciousness thing as the closest part or the closest connective tissue to your creator and providing that direct connection to you at your core, at your essence. And I said also, if you consider also, what if the very air that we breathe, or as I restated it, the very air that is breathed into us, that's the subconsciousness that I would like to point out to you today. And I mentioned also, just as tie-in from the previous episode, we really don't think, nor do we actually breathe. That stuff is done and provided to us. We don't do that. That's given to us and done for us. And that's why we usually take our thinking, so-called, and our air for granted. Like, it'll always be there, so why even think about it? But I only ask you to make some time and space in your busy schedule, in your busy minds, and get to your heart to appreciate this grace. And appreciate just like that heartbeat and the feeling of that love, also known as that substance called blood, flowing through you every single moment of every single day, like this one right now that we are meeting. That air being breathed into and out of you happens without much of your active involvement. I submit to you that subconsciousness, that's what that is. That air is your subconsciousness being exchanged with you. Just consider that for a moment. That air being breathed into you is the subconsciousness being exchanged with you. Just think about that, or better stated, observe that during this episode. You only have a few moments to receive and expel that fresh visit with subconsciousness, with that very air that you need to live and to become more aware of, to value, to have gratitude for. And then, not just to receive that air and then expel it, to do something with that air. Now, with further clarity, with the subconsciousness feeding that construct I gave you many episodes ago, that baseline infrastructure of resilience. That subconsciousness feeding your desire, your discipline, and your drive. That air, that subconsciousness, is feeding and refreshing and sustaining the next step in that process I gave to you about your infrastructure for resilience. The desire, discipline, drive, feeding, refreshing, and sustaining the next step, your beauty, which then manifests, has at your disposal your presence. And then full circle, full spiral, now into the construct of your resilience. The next time you get breathed, just observe the possibility of not just an empty another breath you think you just took. You just had an active and live experience and exchange with your Creator's installment in you. Your Creator's new insistence in you. Yes, for your existence, but your Creator is insisting this new and fresh update of your subconsciousness and your air. This is for your purpose and your message. I'm asking you to listen to the subconsciousness provided to you and to me. And I want me to consider what I will do with it now. What will you do with it now? Remember, in part 1, it's great if you will accept the concept that we don't actually think. Those thoughts are given to us. They are broadcast to us from a million different aspects, always bombarding your mind with sounds, words, images, men, women, sports, entertainment, education, dalliances, distractions, positive things, negative things, every single day, almost like every single moment, if you are truly into TV and YouTube or whatever you do in your default habits. But you get these inputs every day. You don't actually prescribe them. You might be able to describe them to yourself. But my point is, and what I read in that book, 3 Magic Words, we don't think. We are able to discern things that pique our attention, and we latch on or follow or attach to some things, and we follow that train of thought. But it's not ours that we create. Yes, we have some level of intelligence, been to schools, have some certifications, have some experiences, pluses and minuses, ups and downs, sure. But we don't actually think. We only observe what's being put in front of us on that mental screen or that spiritual screen come across our minds and our hearts every single day. But as I mentioned in part 1 and now in part 2 to close this discussion out about subconsciousness, it's not just a thing out there that has been, maybe it's been defined by many, many other people who have more education and experience in this realm of the psyche. I'm not trying to argue that point with you. I want to keep it, as I say, keep it real, keep it 100%. But I want to say that subconsciousness thing is not just a fluffy thing floating out there for a coffee table conversation or a happy hour discussion over a couple of drinks. No. I'm saying to you, the subconsciousness is just like the very air you get on a regular basis that you don't even prescribe or define or demand. It comes to you, just like this subconsciousness that I'm sharing with you today. Treat it as such. You can't order it on Amazon, can't get it from Costco. You can't put it in your closet in your house. This is what you need to do with what you're given. Another grace, another gift. But whether you look at it as air or as the essential subconsciousness that is your input to stoke your individual pilot light. Remember, that stokes your desire, that stokes your discipline, that stokes your drive, that then enhances your beauty, your awareness of it, and then here's your presence, not just to have it, and now to produce with the beauty of your presence. Stay safe, stay current. No matter where you are in this world, please remember, it is always 820.